All right, we're here at Copper Sound in Guelph, which is, man, such a great town. I love this place.
This place is great.
We're here with David Stein. Thanks so much for having us, dude.
No problem. Thank you for coming by.
I found you online. I don't know how.
I was going to ask you that.
I honestly,
didn't know.
I don't remember, but I do remember seeing a like kind of the vintage vibe and the house and so Jay is notorious at getting B-roll. He hates when I say that because it puts a lot of pressure on him. But anyway,
pressure on.
We're in a house, and this seems like a very old house, which I love. This has got, I said to you this before, it's got like a Nashville Franklin feel to it because it's like, just the walls and the hardwood floors. So tell me where we are and how you kind of came to this place and decided to start a studio here.
Well, we're in Guelph, obviously. We're just north of downtown and right by Exhibition Park, which is a great local park. And I came to Guelph. I was doing production and recording and playing in bands and all that kind of stuff, for composing for theater, modern dance, that kind of stuff, in Toronto for 10 years. And it was great, but I needed a change.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about doing a whole career change. Thinking about going back to school for something totally different. We came here. My wife and I arrived. We just fell in love with Guelph.
Yeah,
we didn't want to leave. We didn't want to go back to how busy Toronto was, how expensive it was. Yeah. And we were paying for a city that we weren't using. And then as soon as we came here, we realized, we're paying less money and we love this place more.
Yeah.
So we moved into this place not thinking that it was going to be a studio.
Okay.
But we saw that on the main floor there was a sort of a living room, 2 side rooms, and one was my wife's office, one was my office. Worked out fine. My wife never used her office. She said, you could take it over if you want to do some studio stuff. And then I had to have this conversation. I was like, I think I need the living room too, right? So,
holy crap, man.
And so
you got some guts,
right?
man.
And right off the bat, we had to say, this studio wouldn't be possible without the wonderful support of my wife, Erin.
Yes, I have the same situation. Many people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So that was the start, and then it's just been late 2016 is when I started putting this together.
Oh, okay, wow.
And so it's not that old.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was room in Guelph for this kind of thing, and there was the ability to make the kind of studio that I wanted. Not only just that I wanted to own, but also the kind of studio that I would want to work in myself. Yeah. So that was the quest, and 2017 was a great year for a lot of projects, and now we're in 2018.
That's awesome. Well, it's a very artsy town, and we've actually worked with a lot of bands from Guelph in the day, and so they had there's a community music group that put on house shows here, and very cool. We've been here hundreds of times. I love this town. Yeah. But this house and this feel, and I love the rooms. Like we saw the drum room, we'll do that. But yeah, I like coming in here, I just thought, man, this is the kind of place where I would definitely make a record. It's got that. It's just got a place where you sit back and you relax, and it doesn't feel like the clock's ticking and you're paying all this money or the parking meter.
And that's part of the vibe here. That's part of the price structure you can also do here somewhere in Guelph, where there's less, there's less overhead, there's less, we're not dealing with the prices and costs of cities. So what we have here is, I like to, if you need to come into the studio and you want to do one really hardcore official day, I'll charge you X amount. But if we want to hang out and make a record, there's sort of ways to figure it out. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm what's most important to me is that I can run a studio that's sustainable for me, but also sustainable for the people that want to come through here. And it's a negotiation and a conversation, and that's sort of what it's about. And whereas I think you can't have those kind of relationships with bands where, like, some of the bands that I work with, they love being in here, and they want to be in here like 4 days a month for like 6 months because they live around the corner, and it's great. So we work out something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's something that can, you just couldn't do that downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't, literally couldn't afford
Totally.
to do that. So
You've got vintage gear. We're going to talk about. You've got synths. You got pedals and stuff. Do you have like a genre that you prefer to do?
no.
Okay.
I mean,
do you have a genre that you've seemed to have done more of?
No. I mean, I guess like the idea is just like creative indie rock, electronica, but mashed together.
Yeah.
So the idea is because and when you
There is no genres anymore anyway.
there is no genres anymore, but no, it's not a specifically one thing. And there's different sides of my brain, which is all about recording acoustic instruments and amps and drums and all that. And then the other side of myself is all synths and drum machines and hardware.
Yeah.
So and that's what I think is cool about working with both of those sides in a space like this, because you can come here with one side of it and then end up doing the other side of it, or you can, So I try not to limit if it's an indie rock album and they come with a 3-piece. We could dive into synths and there could be that, right?
It's very experimental. It feels like in here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very that's a big part of it.
Okay, so we are going to talk about a bunch of pre's and EQs that I see over there eventually. So I'm very excited about this tour. The whole idea with these tours is that I will go to a studio, and if the cameras weren't rolling or if the cameras weren't even here at all, I would still ask you all these questions because I'm like, tell me about these things.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's talk about this stuff.
Sure.
Okay, so where to begin? Let's begin with this because this is a beauty. I have no idea what it is.
Sure. It is a modular synthesizer.
Okay.
It is, we can turn it on.
Please, yes.
Fancy lights. It is by a company called synthesizers.com.
Okay.
So if you actually go to synthesizers.com, you will find this company. And what they do is this looks different than what a lot of people know as modular because it's Eurorack format and it uses 1/8 inch. This is not Eurorack format. This is what they call 5U. And it's a larger format that's more in line with what the original Moog format was. When the first, you had Moog Modular, and then you had Mini Moog. Moog Modular looked like this.
Yes.
And then Mini Moog came after that. So these aren't exact replicas of all the different modules. They are different companies doing, some of them from synthesizer.com, some of them from other companies.
So you built all of the, you handpicked all these pieces?
Actually, I didn't.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to see online somebody selling this entire thing.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, not only was it a sort of a good deal, it saved me I resisted modular for so long because I knew like I'd just become homeless after, like it was just
so much of a learning curve.
So much learning curve.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of people don't agree with this, but the 1/8 inch jacks, I just never could get into the small.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as I saw this and it was 1/4 inch and it was larger, I was so excited, and it is a beast.
Where'd you get it from? Like Canada?
Yeah. It was like a guy in Toronto. I got it from All Buttons In.
Oh, okay. So is there a difference in like sound or like character between the modular or Eurorack?
Well, they're both modular.
Okay, sorry.
5U, Eurorack, exactly.
Because this is based on the Moog stuff, you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eurorack, not on a technical way. You can you can make the same kind of module smaller or larger.
Okay.
But the style with Eurorack tends to be more modern. There's so many cool things going on in Eurorack.
Okay.
This is a little bit more old school, and people who are new creative synthesizer nuts might see this as a bit limiting because it's very much like if you take a Mini Moog and you explode it into all the different parts, that's what this is.
Right.
Plus a few extra features.
Okay.
But that's basically what it is, whereas Eurorack, there's so many cool things.
Yeah, right.
So
that's true.
It's just a sort of a style thing, and for me, I wanted it in the big, simple, old school way.
I like this. I like this a lot. Okay.
It's very fun.
I mean, it actually looks older than the .com era, so the synthesizer.com is throwing me off.
Absolutely.
So you got 3 oscillators here.
3 oscillators. This is a mixer. This is a soft sync, which you can sync the oscillators.
Okay.
This is a mixer.
Right.
So you can mix what I've got here is the different oscillators going into the different.
my gosh.
So instead of like turning up the level, you do this. But then there's other cool things that are patched in here, like this. Is what I'm doing is I'm taking the output of the mixer and basically running it back in itself, so you can turn this up and get a feedback loop.
Okay, yeah, which is actually like built in now to most Moogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can like drive the filter harder, and you can get some crazy stuff. These are two envelopes.
Right.
This is MIDI, which is really useful.
So how does that work?
Well, the MIDI comes in here, and it comes.
That's actually like a MIDI.
That's a MIDI cable.
Connector. Oh wow!
And it goes straight from my computer into here.
Oh
and then
gosh!
It gives me, what I need to access this. So it breaks the MIDI down into CV stuff, gate and triggering.
Okay, but using the MIDI, could you sync it then to your Pro Tools?
Yes, and that's exactly what I do. So you write MIDI.
This does not look like you could sync.
I know.
To Pro Tools.
I know. So what you do is you write MIDI in here.
Yeah.
Or for instance, what I also love doing is the Bass Station 2 has an arpeggiator in it.
Yeah. Okay.
That sends MIDI.
Okay.
Which is really cool. So you can run that, record the MIDI on the computer, and then simultaneously spit it out to here, and then record the audio back in. Oh. So, and this is a great tool for people who, one thing we haven't really covered is the fact that you could come to this studio with you might have recorded some stuff at home on your own, and we flesh it out here, or so you might have even written your MIDI parts already.
Right.
Like write them with soft synths. Drag them into my computer, and then we run it through here. And not only does it have a really big, robust sound, but then you get the the added bonus of being able to fiddle with it.
So you can. What other sounds can you put through this? Easy there, Jay. I'm not paying for anything in here. Don't break anything.
Well, you can run sounds through the filter. Okay. Generally, I use it mainly just to generate its own sounds, but you can run sounds through the filter.
Through the filter. Where's the filter?
The filter's over here.
Oh, okay.
And what's so nice about this modular stuff is there's simultaneous outputs for stuff. So, for instance, this is a filter, but it's simultaneously a low pass, notch, band, and high pass. So you can actually output them both at the same time. They're all active at the same time. Same with these oscillators, like the different.
Oh, really?
Like you can actually spit out.
You can send a triangle and a saw
from the same oscillator at the same time, which is pretty cool.
That is really crazy.
So I'm pretty sure. Maybe somebody's going to correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what you can do. Right. So. What's nice?
Well, it's strange that it wasn't a switch.
I'm pretty sure I've done that already. So, so you can run stuff through here, which is really nice. You can run other synths. You can take audio from the computer and run it through there.
I love this thing. I mean, I'm at the place too where I'm starting to drool over the modular world, but I'm really intimidated by it. I don't need another thing that costs a few $1,000s to collect.
Well, I think that's why it did cost a few $1,000s to buy this.
I'll ask you off camera because I'm really curious.
but it was done.
Yeah,
it was
well, that's the thing.
And I've looked into expanding, and it's just too expensive. So this is it for now.
Well, I've been looking into some people will build nice little wooden boxes.
Beautiful.
And will sell a few little modular units in it, and you buy this little $1,200 box.
Yeah.
That to me is all I want. I think,
absolutely.
For now.
No, for sure.
So I want something like this with a nice wooden box and much smaller.
I'll show you after too, because on the synths.com, if you want to get into this format, you can do this half the size.
Oh,
and
cool.
you can. This is what they call a portable box.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a little bit more robust, but you can get the nice wood cabinets. You can, and the end goal of this system. If you ever see Hans Zimmer or what's his name who scored Junkie XL.
Okay.
The walls. You take this stuff.
Oh, I know.
And you put it in the nice wood furniture, and you have an entire wall of it.
Did you see they just announced their, what is it, the Moog LP1, I think?
Yeah, LP3, I think.
LP3, that's right. Yeah.
And it's
$35,000.
It's this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's probably so specifically built to the taste of a
There's 50
certain
of
time.
them in the world.
Unbelievable.
And I'm dreaming of who are those 50 people?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you probably know most of them.
Yeah, you totally do. Absolutely.
We're hopping all over here. Let's talk about this guy right here.
This is great. This is the Vermona DRM1. It's an analog drum synthesizer.
Okay.
So each one of these rows is a different monophonic synth based on different possibilities for drums. So this kick, drum 1, drum 2, snare, clap. So each one is its own synthesizer, basically, made specifically for that kind of sound, although you can bend them into whatever you want.
Where does the sound come from each of these?
You can like trigger them manually, but you can do it via MIDI.
Oh, okay.
And then this is just a sound module. You can't program it on here. So what you do is you I'll show you. You use MIDI on the back.
Okay.
And then you have like an audio
Is that a stereo out? Okay.
Or you've got these nice individual outs.
That is insane.
Which is so cool.
You send one to a guitar pedal, something like that.
And so cool about this is that you not only can you, like if you're going to set this up for live, not only can you do this out to individual things, as soon as you take it out of, like, put a jack in the output here, it takes it out of the master.
Okay.
So it automatically separates it for you, so you could then use it in a mixer in a way like that.
Okay.
And then if you use a Y cable to go back in, it'll do that.
You can send it out to an effect
and it'll go right back in and then out to the stereo.
Crap.
It's
this
super
is amazing.
cool. This is like a super reasonable. It's like $900. It's super.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah, like super reasonable.
Okay, so what's the first one here? Trig. What's that mean? What does that decay?
Each row you can't really like. You'll notice they're different for each one because they.
Oh,
each
because
one
of
is
what they're
specifically
made for? I see, like resonance for the hi-hat. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So each one is different. So you got like
a
great kick drum.
And it's analog.
It's 100% analog. So this is also great too because you can run these into different, like let's say you had 500 series, you want to run them into different cool things. Like it's just.
If I turn this on and listen through the headphones, am I hearing? Is there anything built into this right now, or does it have to receive a sound from MIDI?
No. Well, you would just trigger it by this.
Okay.
So you're saying like, could you press play and have a sequence?
There's nothing.
No, it's nothing. Okay. It's like an old school sound module. You need to.
And does it come with like a software or something, or?
No, nothing. So this is literally like what you can do is you can take something like this, which is a sequencer, which has a sequencer built into it, and you can here sequence if you wanted to stay away from the computer.
Yeah.
But often what I do is. I actually often don't even write for the whole kit.
Yeah.
Because I'm using a lot of the time for production. I'll write for one, and I'll do a really cool hi-hat part. Okay. And I'll just do a direct out. Okay. And then I'll switch to something else. Then I'll do a direct out.
So if you're mixing real drums, can you send like a snare to this, like a mult of a snare?
Well, you wouldn't. You'd have to have a MIDI part written. It doesn't accept audio to trigger. It only accepts MIDI. But if you were to somehow use a trigger like Slate Trigger or something like that, and make a MIDI file based on your snare drum, yes, you could do this. You could totally do that, which is very cool.
That is a really cool thing. What's this guy here? I haven't seen this before.
This is actually only really useful in the world of back with this synthesizer. Okay. This was an easy way for me to expand it. It gives me extra control voltage options, an extra LFO, a noise generator, sample and hold. Weird. So what I often do is I built this little shelf here, and then it just sits right there. Oh, wow. And then it just gives you a few extra
And that's a mode piece.
Options.
Do they still make that?
Yeah, this is a modern thing.
Oh, okay.
This is a modern thing.
Yeah, I've never seen it before.
It's very, very cool.
That's really cool. I love their stuff, man.
Oh,
love their stuff.
So great.
According to this or this, do you have like what kind of thoughts to what pre you use with them?
Yeah, there are thoughts.
You want to save it? Let's save it because we're going to go over there.
Absolutely.
Jay's going to get mad. I want to talk about some of this first. This guy, I have this at home.
Super cool.
Beautiful.
Super cool.
Our American friends may not recognize Fairfield, but this is a fuzz, right? What do you use this for?
It's a fuzz, like kind of anything. You use it on guitar. You use it.
I love synths in this, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love synths through pedals, so you can use it on a lot of things. So I want a whole pedal board that's just Fairfield.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. Okay, I've seen this. What's this guy here?
Yeah. That is a DI.
Oh, okay.
Made by Acme, and it is a recreation. Heavy little guy. Is a recreation of a DI that they used in Motown Studios.
Oh, right.
So what they did is they created. This is also called the Wolf Box because a guy named with Wolf in his last name made them, and he he made them with a special design with a special metal that's rare.
Okay.
And I think they're a simple design, but they just have a unique sound to them.
Mm-hmm.
And at Motown Records, they would just put the guitars or bass
Mm-hmm.
straight into here, straight into a console channel, and that's it,
Wow.
right? So it has this classic flavor. It does do something different to the bass.
Yeah. So you'll put bass into it?
Bass is great. Like if you want to do, again, for experimental stuff,
Yeah.
DI guitar, it's not traditional on it, but
Yeah.
I love throwing a DI guitar and smashing into a pre and doing some cool stuff like that. That's a really cool box.
I want to ask you about this because I actually want to buy this exact same one. What do you use this for?
This is good for, you would go basically taking audio from the computer and reamping it, right?
Or like through a guitar pedal? Do you mean the same type of thing?
Yeah, the same kind of thing.
Because that's what I really want to do a lot more of, but I'm worried that I can't just go from my patch bay to a guitar pedal and back. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And sometimes I use, and obviously this is a great thing to use, when you go from the computer out without going through a box like this, I don't know all the specifications, but there's impedance switches, there's level switches, there's all kinds of stuff that would need to take place for it to work better with pedals. There's actually a really great 500 series version of it. Have you seen that? The radio one?
Yes.
You go straight out into a pedal, straight back in.
And a mixed knob and everything.
Yeah. So that's a really cool thing.
This is the one I want to get. Made in Canada too, folks.
Absolutely.
These are great. And this one is one of the cheaper ones because these do get up in price.
Yeah, and I think they have a yellow one, which is like a larger.
Wow, what's this guy here?
That is a clone of the.
Oh, it's a clone. Okay.
Yeah, this is the Mutron.
Yeah, right.
I think you were at Tim Foy's place, and I think he has an original.
We didn't talk about it. Yeah.
Right, but this is a clone.
Okay.
And it's amazing. It's. I was never a huge phaser guy.
Right.
But it sounds so good on guitars, and it sounds even better on synths.
Oh, okay.
So I use it on synths a lot. We have that string machine in the other room.
What's the company name? Are they in production?
Yeah, this is the company name.
LDP or LAL, whatever that is. Sorry, guys, we can't give you any promo because we have no idea what your company name is.
I don't know what that name is.
Well,
I bought
Neutron
it secondhand off of ABI. I don't know. Jay, you know Edwin. He's my pedal dealer.
Oh, okay.
Edwin Burnett.
I got to find out about that because
he's like he'll drop things off, and he'll just say, "You should try this out for a while," and then
you end up buying stuff.
And you end up buying stuff for him all the time, all the time. This is just a simple reissue.
Why are these always like $50 or $60? I love these things.
I know. They're. I think I bought it new for like $80.
I'm dusting your gear for you.
No,
is that okay?
That's a wonderful.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
And this is in your synth land too. Like, do you use this?
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
synths?
Synths through pedals is great. Sometimes the
cool.
gain structure is a little funny. You can overload a pedal if it's like line level out, but it is great.
Yeah,
it's really, really great.
I got to get one of these.
There's so many variations too. There's like the bass version. There's the germanium output version.
Okay, let's move over to the pre's because I'm really excited. Oh,
absolutely.
I mean, the mics here, you know what? Our folks at home, do you have anything special in here? Because our folks at home have seen most of these.
Yeah. You've seen the 441.
Right?
This is great. This is a vintage 201.
Okay.
Which is really great. You've probably seen the rest of the stuff. This is really special.
Yeah.
This is the Sennheiser 40. I want to say 403 or 409, and then the other part of it is that it has the 403 or 409 capsule in it, which is a classic mic by Sennheiser, famously used on, I believe, vocals on a Pink Floyd album.
Oh, wow.
And it's got a great sound, really crispy, really not great for everything, where like the 441 will mellow something out in the right way. This will crisp it up in the right way.
So what would that be for? Electrics or?
I use it on so many things. I use it on like for a solo. You just really like want a really gritty solo, really forward. You can throw that in front of an amp. You can use it for cool vocals, but I really like a selection of dynamic mics for different tones. So when I use an amp,
these are all your dynamics?
These are all my dynamics, and
that's cool.
The ribbon and condenser stuff is elsewhere.
Okay.
So this is I just like having the different ones because they all respond differently to different amps, and you can brighten up an amp, you can darken up an amp.
That's good for you to really get it, and I need to do that more too, is to really take a listen to a 421 and say, what does that do to the amp?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, some guitar parts, you want it just to be really narrow and cut through.
Absolutely. And there's other ones that you want, like, it's just the transient. I find, I mean, everybody loves transients, and they always want more transients, but I'm always saying, like, there's certain things I don't want this really crispy forward thing. I want it mellower, I want it softer, almost compressed already by the guitar amp and mic combo, a pre and pre combo. So sometimes when you combine this with the right pre for the right amp, you can push something forward, you can pull something back, and I mean, I use these dynamics on maybe like 75% of sources here. Like, they're just used on everything.
Jay just insults me, so I'm just regaining my composure. Okay, so before we get to this, like, gorgeous unit here, what's going on over here? What the hell is this, and why is it up on its end here?
This thing here is, let me get the product number right, Yamaha PM700, and it is
what a great way to access the back. It's so smart.
Well, this
is smart. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely, because myself and like a lot of people these days, we don't use this as a traditional mixer. We don't ride the faders. We don't do anything. We use it mainly as a sidecar.
Okay.
There are individual outs for all the different preamps, and that's mainly what I use it for.
And was that put in after the fact?
Yeah, that was. I had that worked on.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I can see it's all drilled in here.
Yeah. Josh Schneider worked on it.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah.
And so what do you use it for?
I use it a lot basically for drums.
Oh, okay.
It's these consoles, well, I mean rhythm guitars, drums and stuff like that, but basically for like big tracking, a lot of stuff goes through here. There's
Is there a pre in it?
Yeah, like there's 12 different pre's.
Oh, okay.
And then they've got these basic EQs, but they're very cool.
I
They're
bet.
very like, broad, swoopable.
I bet.
This is, I don't know if you've ever heard this term, but this series of Yamaha, they sometimes call Japanese.
Okay.
Because it's like...
Japanese.
Right. Because it has this...
I don't know if that's racist or whatever.
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure either.
I don't know who that's rude to. Neve or
right, exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
But the idea is that they have a really... They're not, like anybody will tell you, like, they're not Neves. They're not at that level.
Right.
But they've got a certain... like a really nice quality to them. They're warm, they're a bit dark, there's just like, they've got a really good colored sound to them. And I've had them worked on so that they're really clean.
Yeah, because I do see, and I don't know if it's the exact model, but I do see some of these come up quite a bit.
These come up on, you'll see them on All Buttons In.
Yeah.
They're super cheap to come up. Like, I think I bought this for $500.
Okay.
But then I put in like 200% more for, like over $1,000 more into, but again, the cost per value, like it's still it's still only like $200 per channel.
To get that many pre's and that many EQs.
That's it. That's it. So you can also, I also sometimes use it for summing or for running buses through, but mainly I use it just to record drum mics, rhythm guitars, that kind of stuff.
I love it. I want you to show us some stuff on the computer before we go.
Absolutely.
What's these like API down here?
Right, this like no-name API.
Unless it's an original. It's like the very first prototype.
Yeah, it's like the first prototype.
Sure, let's say that.
So they're actually what are called MAP pre's.
Okay.
They were made by API. API had this system where they had a whole bunch of preamps in a rack, and the rack was over here, and to access them, there was a control module over here.
Okay.
And it was a way of, I guess, saving space or whatever, just this idea that they had. And that went the way of the dodo in terms of that kind of format went out of, like, people didn't want to do that anymore. So what people did was they bought up the rack of all the preamps, and then you just build your own rack for it. So these are basically identical to 312s.
Okay.
And
was that an output knob? Those big...
These huge things. And anybody, you'll see, I don't know if they're identical to 312s, but I do know that the way that these are racked up and the way that these are, you'll see some of these in, James Rowell and Eric Warren
Okay,
were the ones who were, their names will come up again, but they're the ones who put this together. And you'll see them, Josh Schneider has a few, and you'll see them in other studios.
Yeah.
They have an incredible amount of gain.
Okay,
You often, the pad is on most of the time.
Right, yeah.
And other than that, it's like 1 or 2. Like
I think
that's it.
a lot of API stuff is like that.
Super,
too.
super high, high output.
This little patch bay here, so that goes to all your pre's?
Yes, exactly.
I have the same thing. That's really smart.
So, and that was the decision here was, with the drum room being here, do I make myself a snake? And then it was like, no.
Everything's so
like,
close.
it's just so close. So it either goes in down here for these 8, or it just comes right up here for these 12.
Okay, and you have 12 that
12.
are good to go up here. And 12 outputs too?
12 outputs too. I tend to not use them all.
Do you use the master, like the mix bus section at all? Nothing else?
Not like, again, I can if I want to take something. I find stuff like that, I sometimes mix other people's stuff. And if I'm mixing somebody else's stuff, I'll be like, I wish it had more of a transformer push.
Right.
So I'll run some stems through here.
Right.
But if I'm doing my own thing, it was already recorded through here.
Sure.
I don't need to redo that.
Is that worth it to take 12 stems, push through here? Do you find it's worth it?
It's very cool. Actually, I don't tend to do 12. I'll do like a stereo pair through here for a certain tone.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I mean, we can talk about analog summing because I have that.
I love the
one over there,
simplicity of the EQ, though. I mean, high, mid, and low is what we grew up with on stereo.
Absolutely.
In cars and stuff.
It's that sort of I forget what they call it, but it's sort of like a Baxandall EQ, which is very broad but very musical.
Right.
Yeah.
And are these possibly shelves on either side?
I believe so.
Okay.
Like this, even a little bit, is great on kick.
I bet.
You know, this is a little bit. This is great on guitar. This is great on guitar.
The millions of plug-in manufacturers who are watching our videos.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised that somebody hasn't made just a plug-in for $69 that's just high, mid, and low.
There is one plug-in that I recently got, which is by Dangerous Audio.
Okay.
Their Baxandall EQ, and it's like highs and mids, highs and lows, and maybe even mids.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember, but it's based on their amazing hardware piece, and it's super dead simple.
Yeah.
And there's like nothing to it, and it just makes things sound great. Yeah.
Okay, let's move over to this guy here, and I'm going to jump all over the place because talking about EQ. I recognize these from Sound Toys, right?
Yes, they're based on so this is Siemens EQs. They're based on the C, or the CEQ is based on them. This is one of my favorite pieces ever.
Okay.
Again.
How did you find that?
Well, again, the Toronto music community is wonderful. I've found a lot of connections through All Buttons In to other producers and other musicians, and that's how I ended up meeting Eric Warren, who's living close to here. He does all my mastering.
Okay.
And him and James Rowell. So again, those guys are responsible for tracking these down. These are the 2 pre's.
Oh, okay.
These are 2 pre's. These are 2 EQs.
Why don't you have them next to each other? What's wrong with you?
It actually is about how it fits in the rack.
Oh yes,
so
I have the same problem because the back brace.
Yeah, I couldn't like geometrically. This was the only place that this would fit.
Oh,
so.
That's why you got rid of the LA610 because it's so deep.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. But
that must have pissed you off.
Oh, it did piss me off a little bit, but it's okay. But they're so good.
Okay.
If you know the Sound Toys plugin, it's like that, but these also have amazing transformers.
Are they the same?
Yeah, they're identical. Yeah, I don't know, they're just different colors.
And what's the sound of their pre's? There isn't
really nice. They're more in like the Neve world than an API world or something like that.
They are so beautiful. The people who watch know that I comment a lot on how things look, and we've talked about Moog and stuff. But I just love this military look.
Yeah, these are actually. You know what? I'm going back. They're very close, or maybe even identical to the old school Telefunken. Oh, that's because these are, you have to pull them out.
Oh, beautiful.
But they're similar to the
72s?
Yes, the old Telefunken. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Is this an impedance thing?
Yes. That is for, yes, I believe so. But it's basically for, and same switches on here, it's for engaging or disengaging the transformers on the output. So the idea is that if you have, again, you'd have to talk more to Eric and James about the specifics of it, but sometimes hitting the same load, ohmage load on the output in the same transformers, you get something not pleasing if you're stacking it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So sometimes you might want to engage the transformers here, but not here, or something like that.
So you just test?
You just throw it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. This is a 2610, which is cool. You don't see these much anymore. I have a. Am I okay, Jay? What if I tucked in here?
There we go.
That's great.
Hello, folks.
Hey.
So I have a M610, which is this, and then a blank panel. It's really cool that you have those. Do you like that?
I love them, and
Do you use EQ?
I do use the EQ, not in like huge ways.
Actually, you know what? Now that I realize, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, it's fine.
This is your studio, my show though.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that mine is actually different now that I think about this because I have the. This is the LA610 version, but mine is just high mid. Yeah. It's just a switch, high mid low.
Like, that's cool.
Like our high cut, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
Sorry. Anyway,
they're very cool.
What do you use these for?
Well, I use these priests for like everything.
Yeah.
You were asking me earlier about synths, and synths through that are really great.
Because it's tubes.
It's tubes.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of grit. It's got a bit of warmth, and if you push it, like a bit of natural compression, and the EQs are great.
Yeah.
But the big things for those are like bass DI. Bass DI is amazing through that, and vocals are really, really great through that, but not for everything. Like, I mean, vocals obviously through these, and this is great too.
So you have an LA610 out in the hallway there. Which,
I do.
And I saw you post that online. Why are you getting rid of that?
First of all, I had 3 channels, and I was thinking, I think maybe I didn't need 3 channels.
That's fair.
But also, these came into my life, and then I started realizing, like, I don't need so many of the same. I use them.
Did you not like the optical compressor? Or?
No, I really did. I used it a lot.
Yeah.
And it was my main thing for bass coming in. But I just decided that I'd rather have the 2 channels because I was thinking about which one I was going to sell. I'd rather have the 2 channels than the one because I sometimes like to run buses through there. You run like drums that don't have enough oomph.
I've done that before.
You know what I mean?
Too,
Take them and put them through there.
I'm jealous you have a 2. That makes sense.
Yeah.
A dual
so
unit like that.
that's why I wanted to keep the 2. And also sometimes for overheads, the tubes on overheads is very cool.
And I don't know. I've done the exact same thing, and I think you're totally right. And it's going back to the simplicity of just like 10K and just a bit of air there. It sounds great. And you're right.
You'll also notice that like there's not a ton of like here's some cool like these are cool EQs and these are cool compressors. But there's not a ton of I don't have a ton of outboard EQ comps that I run through because I also like to set things up really quickly so that we can like get to tracking and things like that. So this is a nice like G comp clone.
Yeah. Okay. So we saw this.
But again, what I'm just saying is that even this compared to the LA610, even simpler. I don't even have to think about it. I'll deal with compression later.
True.
So there's something about that.
That's good, man.
That I just because bands want to get in here and like get working.
So we've hopped all over. This looked a lot familiar because we saw this at Tim Foy Place.
You probably have, yeah.
And so this is like an SSL style stereo compressor.
It is, and it's. Again, Eric Warren and James Rowell, and they are...
and they build it. So this is local, like a Canadian-built thing.
Yeah, and it was about... It wasn't recent. Like, I think these are 10 years old, maybe even more. But it is, like, you'll also notice they did not scrimp on anything. Like, these are the best switches.
Now, the only thing is that I believe at the Nelson Room, they had a mix knob on theirs. You
know what? I don't think that it's the same thing. I think he has... A commercial version by another company.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
what it is. No, that's fine.
It was a black bus compressor.
But you might have seen this elsewhere because these are around in Toronto.
Yeah, maybe,
there's only like 10 or 15 of them, but they're around.
And they give you a good sound.
They're great. Yeah. It's really, really good.
What happens? Your mix bus and 2-bus and Pro Tools goes through here?
Yes, exactly. Although. Or drum bus.
Or drum bus.
Or drum bus first and then mix bus again. But again, the great thing that...
what a great sound that would be, eh?
It's so good. The other great thing, though, to consider is that this and this and this and those API, the MAPs, this is the stuff that's put together by Eric Warren and James. And they put a lot of attention and detail to which transformers they use, and even this. The 10 versions or whatever that are out in Ontario, each one they experimented with different transformers, so each one sounds a little bit different.
Right.
And so this has a flavor to it that is part of my studio, and it's like you won't find the same piece somewhere else.
That's awesome.
That always really excites me.
I love that you could do an insert with this and then an insert to that for your drum bus and print it.
Yeah.
It's going to sound beefy as heck.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
What's this here? These are
Those are Neve channels. Those are
and they're pre's as well?
Yep, they're preamps and EQs. This is 3126. It's not like your classic 1073.
So this is a gain?
That's this is gain and like a huge amount of gain.
Okay.
And this is a filter. You can engage either at 47, 82, or 150. And this is a high shelf and a low shelf. So they're very, very broad.
That's really nice.
This is actually on loan to me. This is one of the pieces that's on loan to me, and I don't think I'm going to have access to it forever. But it is. I'm as soon as this leaves, I'm tracking down the same ones because it's so good. Or I'm going to make James make me one or something.
It's the same guys who make.
It's the same again. It's James and Eric, and they've put this stuff together, and it's incredible. It's.
I love the box and everything.
I know, but I recorded the other day. I recorded some organ into a Vox amp, into an RE20, into this, and it was like the sound that I had from the 70s, like that I heard from on all of my favorite records. Like it was there. It was just.
I mean, I've never seen this style EQ, and like there's such a small unit like this. This would be a pricey puppy.
I expect. I never. Because I don't think it's for sale to me. It's on loan to me that I never asked how much it's worth, but I don't think it's...
That's so beautiful.
It's
And this compressor? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
This is great. Studio Electronics C2S. This is... you can run it in stereo, but often I just run it in dual mono.
Okay.
And it's very cool. It's 1176-ish style.
Oh, okay.
But with...
Never seen that before.
With an output... the output section is very much like 1073s. Okay. So it's 1176-y, but it's got the warmth of like Neve stuff.
Oh, cool.
So you can actually, I sometimes run things in here without compressing it because it just gives it a cool flavor.
Oh, nice.
And or you can run things in bass, vocals, very good stuff.
So sell this to me.
I'll sell that to anybody because I think it's one of the best pieces.
It's a very common question. Do I need to buy this summing mixer or should I?
Right.
Because it's very expensive.
And I like it. Even in this last week, I had another musician came in here and was like, "What does this? Sell me on it." And because often people, Dangerous makes the best stuff, super high quality. For the price, this is a ridiculous piece. Like I think it's $2,000 new, and you can get it cheaper.
Sure.
Monitor switching, headphone amps, talkback mic. That stuff's great. Yeah. You could spend $2,000 simply on that. But the two things in here that are essential to me are 8 channels of analog summing and a digital to analog converter, stereo converter, that is phenomenal. Like I use RME stuff to do all my tracking. Okay. And it is very good. Yeah. But when you want to hear the clarity in what you're working on, this is more of a mastering grade. Oh. And it's built right into the box. Okay. So you could pay $2,000 for converters at that quality, but it's included. Right. So everything that comes out of my computer goes into that and is converted by that instead of the RME.
And what's the back of it look like?
It's basically like different outputs for or different inputs for your different
so how does it
monitors.
How does it connect to your Pro Tools? Like to your
AES, like SPDIF kind of, or like AES is on this side, right? And then I have and SPDIF out from the RME stuff. Okay. So basically, it's coming from the RME, still in the digital world, and still digital info, and then converted there.
And at what stage? And then it's like an analog output back in.
You mean for the summing?
Like, yeah, for summing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess what you're asking is like there's different inputs. And
yeah, because there wouldn't be 8. There wouldn't be 16 inputs and outputs on the back, right?
It's like D-sub.
Right,
it's D-sub, right, exactly.
Okay, so then when you're ready to sum, how does that work in your DAW?
What I used to do is I used to record everything and then I set it up. And then you'd be ready to mix and you'd say, okay, I'll send this to this, I'll send it to that. Because I've relied on this actual piece for like over 10 years now, and because I love the way that analog summing helps me mix. Of course, there are people who say it's not essential, but it really helps me, and I hear a big difference.
Yeah.
When I'm tracking, even when I'm doing every stage, I'm already pushing the different buses through this so I can hear what this will do. So what I have set up in my DAW is like drums always go to this stereo bus. Guitars and synth always go to that. Effects always go to the vocals, always the different ones, so that even while I'm tracking, I'm listening back to what this will do.
So 8 of those instrument buses will have a hardware insert on it?
No, instead it's more that, when you choose on your track, you would choose what the output is.
Oh, okay.
And most of the time it's just going to be main output, stereo output 1 and 2 or whatever. That's where you choose. I have it set up for 1 stereo output, 2 stereo output, 3 stereo output, and then 2 mono outputs for the last 7/8 channel.
Oh, okay, cool.
So then it's always like, all this go to this, all this go to that.
Okay.
And
So you're mixing through it live.
Mixing through it live. And then
I would love to hear that. Like, I'd love to hear what
absolutely.
you...
It's a very cool
so
process.
Curious.
And then what I like doing here is the 2 bus of this then comes it's all wired in the patch bay, so that I take the 2 bus of that. Yeah. And then I can put that through the transformers of this, or I can put the 2 bus through that before it even hits my computer. So I'm not actually even using these. I don't even have these set up as hardware inserts.
Oh, my gosh.
I do is I just run. I either run through them on the way in, or I run it on the bus on the way out, I run it on the 2 bus back through.
This is crazy.
Or what I have here is all 8 of those channels come to the patch bay, so that before they come out of the RME, and then before they hit the D box, I have the option to run them through something. So that allows me to take the drums and run them through that, and then it hits the D box, and then the output of that goes to this EQ. You know what I mean? So I'm basically just stacking.
This is crazy.
And if I want to record, if I want to print something, I just run it through like that, print it, and then it's printed, and then it gets run back through the same thing.
This is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Some people don't like analog summing because it slows them down. It's more, I like it a lot.
And then you've got some 560s down there.
Classic.
Yeah, that's
ultimately.
Cool. And you got 2 of them. What do you use that for? Do you stereo purposes?
No, a lot. Well, you could, but I like it on tracking, like kick and snare, guitars, that kind of thing. Pretty.
My style of music and the style that I like to make, I just feel like the tools you have here, we get along really well.
I absolutely, and I think that I think I'm trying to. You'll come back in 6 months. This will look different. Right. Like I'm always going to be right.
Every studio we do,
and I'm always trying to get simpler and more efficient, but
cool.
getting exactly the sounds that I want. Yeah. So, for instance, when this came in here, I could sort of approximate that sound in my DAW. Right. But it took like 4 plugins. This was just like one thing.
Really?
And it was like done.
That's really cool. I know exactly what you mean. Same with probably something like this.
Yeah.
There's saturation plugins, tape plugins.
Exactly.
EQ. Yeah, you're right.
And so there is this idea that like analog gear is complicating things, but often we're chasing something that the analog gear just did already. So you're like, it does make your life easier. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go into one of the rooms. I want to talk about the great rooms. I want to talk about you a little bit more about your studio philosophy, and I want to talk about room treatment.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep. Gretchy.
Holy.
It sounds great.
Great sounding snare.
Yeah, I could use some deadening. But...
Love it. Okay. All right, Jay, we good? Yep. So we're in one of the like bedrooms. I don't know what this would have been.
Exactly.
Regular, in the old
side
days,
rooms. Yeah.
And you've got 2 of them. I noticed that the vibe of this room is like pretty relaxed. Over there, you've got a lot of books and fish tanks and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
We were talking about like the kind of the vibe you go for, and and just with the rugs and the hardwood, everything I love. I was thinking, and I want you to explain kind of your philosophy, but just the other day I was recording a vocal of myself, and I like just felt like I was reading this book and it was inspiring me. And so I held on to the book while I was recording.
Totally.
And
That's a really nice story.
Interesting, you know,
for
it's
sure.
like, and I see you have a lot of books in there, and there's just a lot of cool things to look at. So, like, what have you kind of aimed for with the studio?
That's a good, it's a good story. I think that for me, like, people always come in here and they say, would you take this place? Like, obviously, you could rent a bigger place if you wanted. You could do this
a commercial
space, and there may be a reason for me to move just because I don't want to live in the same space I record. But the question comes up: would you then? Well, then you'd have like a big mixing room and a big tracking room and all this kind of stuff. And the answer a lot of the time is no, because I like working in these, as long as they sound good, in these smaller spaces, because it becomes a more intimate affair between you and the artists. Everybody feels a little bit more comfortable. It's more like, famously, there have been studios that tried to make it after a living room, or tried to make it after that kind of thing. And I think that my aesthetic goes more in line with that. And I also found, dealing with commercial studios, I had so much fun growing up in doing stuff in bigger studios where you had giant consoles and there were reasons to be in this big space, but it's often very intimidating. Like, unless you're going there for a purpose and you really know what you're doing, if you're coming there to be creative, it can be very intimidating. It can be very masculine. It can be very, like, a lot of heavy, like, not heavy metal, but a lot of heavy metal look, black, that kind of thing. And I find that if you're, like, if I'm 4 dudes in a rock band and we're going to make an album, like, great, we'll go to X studio and we'll do that, and it'll make sense. But oftentimes I'm dealing with singer-songwriters who want to expand their palette, individual artists, electronica artists, folk bands, indie bands that are just like it's not the same thing. And the vibe often is about, like, one thing that I prescribe to is, we're trying to get to a place where we feel comfortable personally as the engineer and producer and the artist, that you can feel vulnerable.
Right.
So, like, your vulnerability allows you to make a better record. And like, I just don't know if I'm going to feel that vulnerable all the time downtown Toronto in, like, an industrial space. So if I'm coming with, like, a big band and we have to record this, like, there are just things that you need those spaces for. And you need, they're amazing and inspiring.
Every studio has its purpose and it has its clientele.
But, so that's a part of it. So definitely, like looking at, like, not as much masculine energy, feminine energy, the idea that like colors, brightness, sunlight, inspirational items, inspirational things, like, books and art and that kind of stuff, I think help. They also, like, are an instant signifier to somebody who walking in the studio that, like, you have an aesthetic of yourself and you know where you're at, and, like, do I see myself fitting in with, like, what you're doing?
And every musician and producer has their own type of studio that they want to work in. And for me, I want my studio to feel similar to my living room. Your living room is where you feel the most comfortable. So there's plants, there's books, there's records. You know what I mean?
For sure.
There's hardwood tables and stuff. And so for me, that's where I'm most comfortable. That's where I write the songs on my record. So
exactly. Why wouldn't you want to record it?
Why wouldn't I want to record that?
I think the downside and the temptation is for it to actually literally be your living room, and it be like, it can be you have to deal with daily mess. You have to deal with, like, just living in that space. So if I can provide a space that feels just as comfortable, but it's just like not your space. That's a good point. Then it's like, it's pretty cool.
So Jay was talking about that conversation you were having with John Tornblum, and we were talking about this off camera a little bit about how do you acoustically treat a room. And I'm in the process of building a new studio in the next 2 years, and I've been dreading this because right now in my studio I have these black foam things on the wall, and I'm like, I really don't want to put this in my new nicely drywalled studio.
Absolutely.
It looks beautiful in here. What were your struggles with that, and how did you deal with it?
Well, again, talking about, like, aesthetics and the feel of a place, immediately, we emptied these rooms when we wanted to make this a studio and decided, like, where's everything going to go? And rugs, lighting, like, all those things were key points. But of course, we needed to treat these rooms, and so I tried to think about the room itself. I think this is Prime Acoustics stuff.
Oh, okay.
And the beige, it just worked really nicely and simply.
That's a good point.
Like it just, as
So
opposed
you bought this, you didn't make this?
No, I didn't make these. I actually had them before this studio, but it was all in my old place. It was the same aesthetic.
You're right. Beige is very 70s, very 60s.
Yeah.
It's Abbey Road has a lot of this type of stuff.
And it's not to say that every studio space has that, but you're going to find a lot of dark gray and black baffles. And is it always what you want?
Correct.
But what you can do is you could, if you have those, like if you buy all the
hanging
nail
stuff
holes,
must be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. But
yeah.
if you have stuff that's not the right color, you definitely can get fabric and just put it over top. And I know people who have made their own baffles by picking out really cool fabric.
And so we have diffusers here. Did you make these or buy these?
I didn't make them, but I had a local guy who is a bass player himself, and Rick Thompson, and he is a cabinet maker at the same time. So it was a perfect fit. I gave him the basic design, and he made them up for me. These are untreated, so like untreated wood.
Yeah.
So they shift and they crack, but there was a lot also less expensive than buying the 500 a piece.
When you put it up, what kind of difference did you hear?
Oh well, it's especially in things like cymbals and high end. Right. It's not really going to do a ton at the size it is, and at the distance it is. It's not going to do a ton. About lower end. If we had more distance away from the wall, maybe. Yeah. But I definitely notice. I mean, as we talk on the video here, you're hearing the cymbals and everything. But if you take these out of here, it just it's the same thing with. They always say a comfortable talking room is a good tracking room.
Oh, okay.
So like if it's too dead, it feels too weird.
Yeah.
If it's too boomy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I find that like it's a good talking room.
It's a good note. That's a really good note. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
These, I'm so, Jay, which one do you want to talk about? I'm so in love with these little bass traps. So
yes.
What David had told me a little earlier was it's an IKEA shelf.
It's an IKEA box. They don't make them anymore, but they make stuff like this where you buy for like $50, you buy like a modular system where you take these, it was open, and it's bookshelves, and you stack them up.
Yeah.
So you buy something like this, whether it's IKEA or you literally have somebody throw together something very simple like that.
But IKEA's nice because the wood is finished. It's cut plumb and very nice.
Absolutely. So if you get cheap. And it's not that expensive, right? So I had a whole wall fixture of these at my old place, and it was like 12 boxes, and then I had them, and they weren't doing anything, and then I needed bass traps. So again, same guy, Rick. I gave him rock wool. He put them in. He finished them up with nice fabric, and again, it's part of the aesthetic here is that. They do give a bit of a 60s, 70s sort of tone.
They make great end tables. Yeah, got some stuff on them. I thought they were speakers actually.
A lot of people do.
And you've got another one over here.
And I have the same ones in the control room, and they make a huge difference for kick drum in this room.
So cool. It's
bass
so
cabinets.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it. This is a great place. I want to cut because I want to goof off with some of the sounds and stuff.
Absolutely, for sure.
Thanks so much for having us out here.
This was a total pleasure.
It's a really cool place.
Your video series is great, and great to have you guys here. And thanks to Jay.
Well, congratulations, man. Great place.
Great.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, man.